Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, I'll be reacting to one of the early uploads from the YouTube channel The Game Theorists. This video came out in the year 2017, so I think it's around 4 years ago. But having said that, this particular video is a bit thought-provoking, so do note that viewer discretion is advised. Let's get on with the video. Let's start.
Usually I would say this in a fun and joking way, but in all honesty, today's episode deals with very serious, very sad, and very scary topics. This is, without question, the darkest, most emotional episode of game theory to date. Just be warned, this episode gets intense.
Yeah. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory.
Hello.
So, you made it past that initial warning, huh? Consider yourself brave, do ya? Well,
Brave.
it's now time to get serious and scary. Today we're talking about Petscop, the scariest game that, sadly, you'll probably never play. You see, 5 months ago, March 12th, 2017, a brand new YouTube channel began uploading Let's Play videos of an incomplete PlayStation 1 style game entitled Petscop. The person playing, who never introduces himself but we'll call Paul since that's what he names his save file, simply says that Petscop is a game that he found, and that he's uploading videos of it to prove that everything he's been saying about this game is real.
This is just to prove to you that I'm not lying about this game that I found.
He starts it up and it immediately feels like Pokemon. Our mission is to collect quirky little creatures called pets. Not by battling them, but rather by solving puzzles. For instance, one pet named Wavy is a rain cloud, so you catch its water droplets in a bucket. Another, named Pen, hides on a keyboard and you have to use a treadmill to match its notes. Janky Fanfare blats out every time a new pet is added to your collection. This area is known as the Gift Plane, and the first signpost tells us that this world once provided homes to over 100 different pets.
If you're unaware, yeah.
But now only 48 remain. Another sign encourages us to find somebody that we like, that we don't have to love them right away. Huh.
That's a red flag.
That's an odd thing to say. And a third tells us not to be discouraged if the pets run. They do want a home, but they're just afraid, and that it's our job to show them that there's nothing to fear. Okay, sure, but then in the process of solving the next puzzle, Paul proceeds to steal the water from a flower, smack its head with a bucket, cause it to wilt, and then huzzah! A new pet is caught. Not... quite the way to show our new pet kindness, but hey, it filled up one of our slots in the Pokédex! In the first couple minutes, you can already tell that things in this
Pokédex.
game are a bit unsettling. The game is unfinished, the sound effects are distorted and weird, the in-game text just feels off. And let's be honest, your character has an olive green butt for a face. But it's 6 minutes into the first video of the series when things start to get really unusual. Paul reveals that he found a note with the game telling the player to go to a specific room and punch in a code. As soon as he does this, the goofy music cuts off. Something about this game has changed. He leaves the building and we're suddenly no longer in the white and pink world of the Gift Plane, but in some sort of underworld, a layer beneath the surface game.
Oh gosh. It's like the behind the scenes of the happily ever after. Happily ever after.
And this is where the true mystery of Petscop begins. It's in this underworld where over the next 9 videos we watch Paul encounter dead children, disfigured sprites, Paul censoring images for unknown reasons, and a haunted, cursed game capable of acting on its own. Now, it should be fairly obvious that Petscop is a game created by Paul, but can we admire the meta-ness of this for a second? It's a fake let's play of a fake game purposely built with glitched code and a dark hidden secret, all in an attempt to create a real-life creepypasta like the story of Ben Drowned. You know, the one, the tale of a child who died and went on to possess a copy of Zelda Majora's Mask? But unlike other creepypastas that are based on fictional stories, Petscop's biggest scare comes from the fact that over the course of exploring this underground world, it's telling you as the viewer a real story. A story that'll disgust and anger you. The story the game is trying to tell, the story I'm about to tell you now, is one that'll make you go cold, and why I left that disclaimer at the top of the video. April 18th, 2000, Evergreen, Colorado. Born into an abusive home, Candace Tiara Elmore had been taken away from her family by social services at age 5, separated from her younger siblings, Michael and Chelsea. After 2 years of being passed around between foster homes, Candace had finally been adopted by a middle-aged nurse named Jean Newmaker.
Alright, do take notice of their names. It's going to come... yeah, it's going to be important, so... yeah.
With the adoption would come a new life for Candace, as well as a new name, Candace Elizabeth Newmaker. But the adoption wasn't a smooth one. Jean reported that Candace exhibited severe psychological and behavioral problems, setting fires in the house, assaulting other children, destroying property. It's unclear whether these reports are true, as others claim Candace was a sweet and polite child, but regardless, when medication and counseling proved ineffective at healing their relationship, Jean decided to try an experimental new form of treatment, aimed at helping adopted children connect with their new parents, something known as attachment therapy.
A new experimental.
That Tuesday morning, as a part of her 2 weeks of treatment, 10-year-old Candace Newmaker was meant to simulate being born as a means of helping her reattach to her new mother. As a part of this so-called rebirthing, 2 therapists wrapped Candace in a flannel blanket, covered her in pillows, then sat on her, along with 2 other fully grown adults, 673 pounds of combined weight pressing on the girl's face, chest, and 70-pound body. The following lines are direct excerpts from the transcript of the session, and again, I offer you one final warning. Click to the timestamp you see pictured on screen if you'd like to skip this section.
Yes, if you are unable to, viewer discretion advised. Do skip to the 8 minutes and 12 seconds if you are, heavy, viewer discretion advised. Let's go.
So, little baby, are you ready to be born? If you stay in there, you're going to die, and your mommy is going to die. That's one of the 2 therapists in the room speaking to Candace in her make-believe blanket womb. In these first few minutes, Candace is clearly confused about what she's meant to do as a part of this roleplay. Where am I supposed to come out? Right here? Where my finger is? No response. After struggling to free herself for 7 minutes, Candace cries out, "Who's sitting on me? I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't breathe. Please quit pushing on my head. I can't do it." Still no response. For the next 10 minutes, she continues to cry for help, for oxygen. Candace begins to shout that she's dying. Still no response. 16 minutes in, Candace, confused and desperate to escape, asks, "You want me to die for real? Die right now and go to heaven." The therapist replies, still sitting on her, "Go ahead and die right now. For real. For real." 20 minutes in,
No!
still stuck in a blanket under the combined weight of 673 pounds, Candace begins to vomit and defecate onto herself. The only response from the 2 therapists? "Go ahead, stay in there with the poop and vomit." 40 minutes in, therapist. She gets to be stuck in her own puke and poop. It's her own life. Quitter. Quit. She's a quitter. This baby doesn't want to live. She's a quitter. At this point, Candace has gone silent. Still. And yet the torture continues. 70 minutes after wrapping this 10-year-old in a blanket and sitting on her, the 5 adults in the room finally decide that she can come out, saying, "Let's talk to the twerp."
This is not a therapy. This is torture. This is torture. Just like Matt have mentioned, this is torture.
Upon seeing her lying on the ground, oh, there she is, sleeping in her vomit. But obviously Candace wasn't sleeping. She had passed out due to the lack of oxygen. Her brain now dead, her face and fingers blue. She died later that day. A year later, the 2 therapists would be found guilty of reckless child abuse, receiving a 16-year prison sentence, of which they served 7. Everyone else in the room...
What? 16 years. Only served 7.
room, the 2 other adults sitting on the child, as well as Gene Newmaker, who watched it all happen, only received minor slaps on the wrist. Obviously, this is a horrific story. The tragedy of an innocent girl raised in the worst possible situation, mistreated by greedy and callous individuals. It's awful, showcasing some of the worst depths of humanity possible. But I shared it with you because connecting the events of Candace Newmaker's story to the haunted game Petscop helps explain the core themes and disturbing imagery of this creepy web series. The first and most obvious connection is that you are called Newmaker in the game. In one of the underground rooms, you find a device named Tool that answers the questions that you ask. When Paul asks, "Who am I?"
Right now it's at the 8 minutes and 48 seconds mark. So yeah, have passed the 8 minutes plus mark.
It responds,
Welcome back.
with Newmaker. When asked, "Where am I?" the answer it returns is under the Newmaker plane. So already we see a direct name connection, but that's far from the only one. In Petscop Part 3, Paul finds a note with a lot of disturbing information on it, but the sentence that stands out reads, "Tiara says young people can be psychologically damaged beyond rebirthing."
What? That escalated quickly. That was dark.
Not only do we have the mention of rebirthing, the same procedure that took Candace's life, but the name Tiara appears to be a direct reference to Candace Tiara Elmore, her birth name before being adopted by Gene Newmaker. This connection is further supported by a note found during Petscop 2. It reads, "Do you remember being born?" Question similar to what the therapists asked Candace before she was wrapped in blankets. Interestingly enough, when you ask that same question back to Tool, it responds with, "I am not Tiara," again reinforcing the idea of birth with Tiara and implying that she does understand being born, or at least understands the concept of being reborn. The "I am not Tiara" can also be a reference to Tiara no longer being Candace's real name after her rebirth. She had been reborn as a Newmaker. It's also worth noting in a huge piece of evidence supporting this theory that the "Do you remember being born" note is found on the wall of a room that is clearly labeled as the Quitter's Room.
Why do you call that?
A direct reference to Candace's story where the therapists repeat over and over, "Quitter, quitter, quit." There are also other smaller name parallels as well. For instance, Petscop was supposedly made by the company Carolina, a completely made-up game developer. Candace is born and adopted in the state of North Carolina. Candace in real life also had a brother named Michael, and there just so happens to be a child's tombstone in the game with the name Michael on it. And of course, the name Candace is only one letter off from one of the pet names in the game, Randis. That last point also brings up one of the recurring themes that we see present throughout Petscop: the parallels between the pets and children. Because in the game, you can actually catch both. On the gift plane, remember the cute and fun top world, you catch pets, birds, plants, little purple meatballs. In the underground, the Newmaker plane, we see Paul catch a crying human girl named Care, listed in the pet roster as Care NLM. And we know that she's a human. The game makes this distinction very clear. In the underground, there's a building called the Child Library. It's a building filled with rooms for thousands of children. In fact, you can visit the rooms of both Care and Michael. But there's also a hole in the front. It's kind of like an ATM where you can make deposits. When Paul tries to deposit one of his pets in episode 7, the game clearly gives him the prompt that the child library only accepts people. But when he tries to deposit Care NLM in video 9, it works, establishing that as Newmaker, you are catching everything. It's also worth noting the significant parallels between the gift plane and the Newmaker plane. Designs that appear in the background animation of the gift plane directly reference patterns you see on blocks hidden in various rooms throughout the underground, with actions performed on the surface level directly impacting what's happening down below. For instance, Paul walking on the treadmill in the keyboard room times out perfectly with him plucking flower petals underground in the Newmaker plane. Times out exactly. It just goes to show that these two worlds are connected, with the game trying to prove the point that adoption, to some people like Gene Newmaker, is the equivalent of getting themselves a new pet.
No. 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 It's different. It's different. Come on. Come on. We are all humans. Can't we have just some humility?
In fact, the themes of adoption and forced love are perhaps the defining feature of Petscop. As I mentioned before, the signs at the very beginning of the game tell you that the pets want to find a good home, but that they'll run because they're scared. Your job is to show them love. Instead, you trick them, beat them, and trap them in order to catch them. Even Care NLM, the in-game description makes it clear that you lied to her in order to capture her. And this is just like Candace and other children looking for adoption. They're looking for a good home, and although they're scared, through love and patience, they'll eventually learn love and trust their new parents. But just like Paul's character in the game, Gene Newmaker used violence to try and force Candace to love her. In fact, here's a quote from one of the websites covering the Newmaker story. She acted not like a mother, but an outraged consumer.
No!
She seems to have thought that when she adopted Candace, she had a right to a normal parent-child relationship. When Candace's natural bond with the mother she'd shown for her first 6 years persisted, Newmaker took Candace to Evergreen to be cured of it. End quote. This mentality is reflected through the recurring gift imagery present throughout the game. Both pets and children in Petscop are seen as gifts. The gift plane is where the player can find a pet to bring home. In the Underworld, Michael's grave is in the shape of a gift box. The quote on his tombstone is that Mike was a gift. This parallels the real-life saying that a child is a gift from God, but it makes the child into a commodity rather than a person. And just like a gift, it promotes the idea that the child can be returned if it's defective.
No!
In Petscop, the little girl Care has 3 forms. Care A, a happy, healthy girl. Care B, one where she's growing sad. And Care NLM, one who is broken, covering her eyes and crying. It's well established in the Petscop community that the NLM stands for Nobody Loves Me, but the game shows us through her description that there is hope for Care. You're the Newmaker. You can turn Care NLM to Care A and close the loop. Instead, immediately after reading that, Paul abandons her, dropping her off in the deposit slot in front of the child library and getting the message, you've decided to leave Care NLM. In case you change your mind in 6 months, you can take her back. She had the ability to recover, but instead he gives up on her, returning her like a defective item from the store. Care was a gift, just a gift that he didn't want. It's the same in real life, as between 10 and 25% of US adoptions end in similar sorts of return.
10 to 20% of US adoptions end in returns. Child Welfare Information Gateway.
It's a big number. And if there was still doubt in the connection between Candace's story and Petscop, look at the dates. Candace died in April of 2000. Exactly 1 year later, in April of 2001, the therapists were sentenced to 16 years in prison. 16 years. On April 1st, 2017, Petscop's second video is uploaded, the one where the locked door allowing access to the Newmaker plane and Candace's story mysteriously opens up on its own, after Paul himself admits that he's never been able to figure out how it opens before. April 2017, exactly 16 years after trial, the exact date when the therapists were supposed to be released from prison, bringing the Candace story to a close. But the story of Candace and what she represents, adopted children struggling to find loving homes, those aren't stories that should remain buried under happy-go-lucky facades. And Petscop is a game that seems to want to ensure that these stories continue to be heard. I added to it a bit here, but the Candace Newmaker theory is currently the most widely accepted of the Petscop fan theories, pieced together by an incredible fan community picking apart every detail of this cryptic web series. And personally, I'm a firm believer in it. The parallels are just too strong to real life. That said, I don't believe it's the whole story. There is so much to unpack in this web series. The mysterious items Paul censors, the character of Mike Hammond, Tool getting possessed, the disappearing windmill, Marvin and the Black Monster Man, who the game was originally made for, and on and on and on. If you are at all interested, I encourage you to join that community of theorists and give the series a look. It is a great group that is well worth your time trying to unwrap something that has clearly had a lot of time and attention put into it. It is my hope that we'll get another installment, or who knows, maybe even an actual version of the game sometime soon. But until then, I think the most appropriate way to end today's episode is to tell someone that you love them. Tell them that they're important to you and that you appreciate them. No one should ever have to go through this world thinking that nobody loves them. So share some love today. And remember, it's all just a theory. Not the love, just the game theory. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you, all of you, for watching this video. Thank you so much. Really love all of you. It's important to show that others are important and they are loved. Do show appreciation, gratitude, and all in all, respect each other. Is it really that hard? After all, we are just humans.
If you believe in smart, well-researched content, then please consider subscribing. Help us make that long trek to 10 million subscribers.
Yes, you have already reached more than 10 million subscribers on your YouTube channel. It's like 13 million, I think, or 40 million, I forgot.
It's like the last achievement I need to unlock in this game of YouTube. And I will see you all for something that I guarantee is a little bit less heavy next week.
This episode is really heavy. If you do like this video, please consider to show appreciation and support to the game theorists. Their videos are interesting to watch. Yes, and if you do like my videos, please consider to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and comment down below if you have any share with us. And also do remember to follow my channel as well. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching.